Okay. Hello, my name is Matt Braun. This is going to be a introduction, perhaps, into a series that I would be interested in doing in breaking down the weekly starting pitchers. And so, what I was anticipating was that I would go through all the starting pitchers from the following week, or from the week that just happened. Excuse me. Starting on Sunday, I'm recording this on a Saturday, and then we would just talk about how they did. We would analyze them using Baseball Savant and their advanced tools. And I just think it would be interesting. I'm very interested in starting pitching, just pitching in general. I find it to be more fun to analyze than hitting for some reason. And it seems like a lot of recent analytical discoveries have more or less been entirely focused on the pitching side of things. It's definitely the thing that's most like statistically, like we can measure these things, we can analyze them, we can use these numbers to explain why a guy is performing and why a guy is not performing. So with all of that talking, let's just go over what I was envisioning. So we're going to start here with Taj Bradley. This was his Sunday outing. Unfortunately, it was a bit of a disaster of an outing. It wasn't a bit of a disaster. It was an outright disaster. It was not what he wanted. It was not what the Twins wanted in his first outing in a Twins uniform. And so we're here. I'm at the Baseball Savant. I'm under player breakdowns here. And this is the area I'm interested in. And so we have 4 pitches here. This is his mix, 4-seam fastball, cutter, curveball, splitter. And just overall, what I'm seeing here is that, frankly, nothing was really working for him this day. You didn't need me to tell you that. But let's see. I like to look at swing and miss, and he just didn't get a whole lot of swing and miss. 8 whiffs total is pretty low out of 88 pitches. Not absurdly low, but just a little too low. Called strike whiff percentage, which is another stat I like. About 28% is about average. That's about what you're looking for. 22%, pretty low. It's not what you want. What I'm seeing is he was getting a decent amount of foul balls. 22 balls in play is just an absurd amount. The White Sox were just hitting him. They found him hittable. The contact, I guess we don't have just straight up contact. We have zone contact, 88. That's too high. Out of zone contact, again, too high. And I think what's most interesting is we're going to go to the illustrator so we can actually get a box plot here. So this is a plot of his pitches, and the thing that stuck out to me, everything was just too high. I mean, these are never going to be strikes, really. This is a ball. This is a ball. We got splitters missing high. Those are especially bad. At least a 4-seam fastball up here, you know. Like for this example, you get Luis Robert. He might swing at that, and he did. So that's going to be a strike. But when I analyzed this earlier, basically this line right here, he had 3 swinging strikes above it. He had this one, he had this to Andrew Benintendi, and then there was another one to Luis Robert. Here it was. Everything else I counted, I believe this was 18 plots. So he got 3 strikes out of 18 pitches up here. You don't need me to tell you that that's a terrible ratio. And what I think we most then saw the effect of this was that his off-speed pitches just did not earn any swing and miss. He got from cutter, curveball, splitter, he got 3 whiffs all day. And he used them, that's 30, he used them 44 times. Half the time, 3 swings and misses. That is not good. Didn't earn a single swing outside the zone on 14 curveballs. 14 curveballs, not one time did someone even just swing at it out of the zone, yet alone swing and miss. So I think what we can just conclude here, the control, command, it just wasn't there. He was missing high, and as a result, he was getting behind in the count, and the off-speed pitches weren't able to do really anything. It's hard to throw off-speed pitches for strikes, and it's hard to live like that, and Taj Bradley certainly did not live like that. So I think if he's going to do anything in the future, if he's going to improve, then that's going to be the thing that we see him do better on. So we're moving over now. This is going to be the Blue Jays game on Monday. This is Joe Ryan. Joe Ryan kind of not been pitching well. Kind of been getting smacked. And the thing about Joe Ryan, why he succeeds, four-seam fastball. It's one of the best four-seam fastballs in baseball. You don't need me to tell you that. And what's kind of weird about him is that it seems like in these recent years that he's really gotten better last year and now this year. The secondary stuff has just it's been whatever he wants in any given day. It's been some splitter. Sometimes the splitter succeeds. Sometimes the sweeper succeeds. The slider. He's brought back the curveball. Strangely enough, I did not expect that because it was not an effective pitch for him early in his career. It's a different kind of curveball, of course, and he's a different kind of pitcher. And then even a handful of sinkers here. And the thing that sticks out to me, the splitter, that just was not effective. I mean, you throw 19 of them, and they only swing at 5 of them. It was in the zone 21% of the time. Swing 20, that's not good. That's not good for a chase pitch. And when it was in the zone, they made contact with it. So the splitter was just not working. And we've seen, I think not just Joe Ryan, but for anyone who hasn't, I guess, mastered the splitter, it can be a hard pitch to command. It can be a difficult pitch to do exactly what you want with it. And I think that's why he's toyed with the sweeper. That's why he's toyed with the sliders, because it's just, the feel for it is just not quite there. And it really wasn't here in this outing. The curveball just did nothing. Earned 3 swings. They made contact with it in the zone 100% of the time. Didn't really do anything. Sinker again. Got 2 swings. Got 2 whiffs, actually. It looks like no whiffs. Those are some called strikes. I misinterpreted that. My bad. So what are we analyzing here? The four-seam did okay. It didn't quite dominate. I think if we're to look again at the illustrator, I think this is going to be more instructive. A little low in the zone. This is a little low in the zone for a Joe Ryan strike zone plot. I mean, that four-seam fastball, we've talked about it for years. For him, it's going to be effective when he throws it high in the zone. And then we just don't really have much up in the zone. I mean, even compare it to what Taj was doing, which again, he wasn't doing it effectively, but still there's a nice cluster here. Like I would say this cluster is where you're going to see the most success if you have a fastball that can live at the top of the zone. And this is Joe's cluster. And this is a lot of down. And if I remember correctly, yeah, this was the home run to Kirk. That's down. Middle. That's going to get hit. This is middle. Bichette took it. This was another RBI knock by Springer. I mean, this is just catching too much of the plate. And then we got all of these splitters. These are very, very low. I mean, that's a good one to Varsho, but this is a ball in the dirt, foul ball, and these are just, I mean, none of these are ever going to be any close. So I think the issue for Joe here is the fastball is just lower than he needed it to be, and then the splitter just wasn't able to do anything off of it because it was also low. Just low in general. I don't like to see Joe Ryan. This is like a sinker baller plot to me, and Joe Ryan's not a sinker baller, so I don't like that. I'm not concerned. I mean, it happens. Guys go through this kind of stuff, but I think if he's going to get better, it's going to be that kind of stuff. We're going to see four-seamers up, and then that's probably going to help the splitter. It's going to help all the other stuff come together. So anyways, we're moving over to, this is Bailey Ober. It's interesting to me, more changeups than fastballs in this outing. And Ober, he's struggled this year. I think that's been clear. He regained it maybe for a start or two, but then here we have velocity somewhere here. Max velocity on the four-seamer, 89.9. Minimum, 86.6. That is incredibly low. And he's never been a guy with crazy velocity. We know that. But we're kind of pushing like what can be a major league fastball here. And I think we're learning that this is not a major league fastball. This is not going to get the job done. Let's look at the four-seam fastball. I mean, zone contact, 77. That's actually pretty low. That's actually pretty low for a four-seam fastball. So believe it or not, he was beating guys in the zone with it, but he wasn't getting a whole lot of chase. And he wasn't in the zone all that much. The changeup, we're looking here at a lot of contact on the changeup. They were not particularly fooled by the changeup. One swing and miss. It took 18 swings at it, missed just once. And I think Wow, didn't even get a single swing and miss on the slider. I didn't see that until now. Holy crap! So this is it, and this is kind of the Joe Ryan thing we were talking about. If the four seam fastball is not working, then we see that affect the changeup. We see it affect the slider. We see it. The sweeper actually did okay. I always wonder though with his slider and sweeper, the categorization of such where they draw the line. But it seemed like the sweeper did well. And if we can look at this scatter plot, honestly, the plot isn't bad. This isn't a terrible plot to me. This is kind of what I want to see out of Bailey Ober. Just a lot of changeups flying out here, though. And that was to a righty. Holy crap. Barger, so lefty, Lucas, lefty. So a lot of changeups just straight up missing. These are going to be a ball the vast majority of the time. So that's like 1, 2, 3. I see one hiding behind there. A lot of uncompetitive changeups, it looks like. Although the four seam, God, I'd like a little higher up. This is a little too middle for me, especially when a guy's throwing 88, like 87. He's got the extension. He's got, that little trickiness that it seems like hitters struggle with. But still, I would like to see less of this. And then, the changeup just has to rein in. That's just what this is. You can't, again, the same thing with Tyler Bradley. You can't miss this badly on these pitches so consistently and just expect anything good to happen. I wouldn't be shocked. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. What about this one? 6. It's not the worst, but we'll call that 6. 7, 8, 9, 10. So that's like 10 changeups that are just completely uncompetitive. They're balls pretty much all the way, at least in a Major League Baseball context. So what we got to see out of Bailey next time, obviously velocity would be nice, but that changeup command is just going to have to rein in. He's not going to live like this. You can't live like this if you're Bailey Ober. So we're going to move on here. This is Simeon Woods Richardson. This was his start on Wednesday, and also didn't go very well, unfortunately for him. Simeon, it's been up and down for him. Had a good year last year, but I think it was maybe a little fluky. And I think he understood that, and that's why he's completely abandoned the changeup, which was once potentially a plus pitch for him. And he's turned it into the splitter, and the splitter's been great. Splitter did great. Call strike whiz percentage, 30%. You love to see that. 5 swings on it, 2 swings and misses. Only put it in play twice. An average exit velocity under 90 miles an hour. That's pretty good. O contact 33. That's lovely. So that means they're swinging at it a good amount of the time, 43%, and they're just not making contact, which is what you want to see. And he wasn't throwing it in the zone too, which is lovely, because his zone contact was 100%. When you throw a splitter in the zone, it's probably going to get hit, unless you're talking about some like Koji Uehara, one of those nasty things. And the curveball too. I've always liked his curveball. I really have, and I feel like he's underutilized it. And I think this was a good ideal way to use his curveball in this outing. And you can see it's not going to be a swing and miss pitch. It's just too slow, I think. But it was a great strike stealer. He got 3 called strikes on it across 13 usages. Got 5 swings, 1 whiff. I'll take that. 4 balls in play, but again, they weren't hit very hard. One of them was, but on average, it wasn't. And that's what I like to see. The issue here is fastball. It's not a killer fastball. It really isn't. And this is a wide range here. The minimum 88.5, topped out at 94. That's a bit strange. But only 1 swing and miss. Man, you can't live like that. You really can't live like that. O swing 14%, O contact. So even when the few times they were swinging, they were hitting it. And in the zone, they were hitting it. Really, they were just hitting the fastball, and the slider wasn't fooling them. So kind of a weird outing, actually, that the curveball and splitter, even though we were just talking about how a bad fastball can usually portend bad secondaries, he actually had some pretty strong secondaries, even though they weren't used all that much. So maybe that was it. It was just small sample. But But the four seam fastball is just gotta be better. And we'll see. Let's take a look at location. With the other guys I was talking about, how I'd like to see it up. Again, it's kind of the same thing with Sim, but the issue with him is with his vertical slot. You wonder how much he can live like that, because this was sort of the Josh Winder issue, if you remember him. He had a very vertical slot, and you can live at the top of the zone potentially with that. But the issue is the fastball stays on plane, and when a fastball stays on plane, it's easier for a hitter to get on top of it, as they may say. It's easier for them to hit it, and so that's why we only see if you want to be generous with what you call above the belt, really you could argue it's this is the only one that's truly above the belt. I guess this kind of cluster here. But mainly he's living down in the zone, and that's kind of where he has to be. But I just don't know if he's going to figure it out. And this is a David Festa problem as well that I've written about. And when it's 93, that's not killing anyone these days. It's in the heart of the zone a lot. I think for him, he's just going to have to rely on just general command of the pitch. And I just don't really see a ton of great. Here you go. That's a good pitch. Got a foul on it. But fastballs on the corners, there's 4 of them, 5 of them. The rest are low. These are balls. Slider command, slider command was really not great. These are in the heart of the zone, or they're down here. Who knows what's happening with this curveball. So I guess the issue here we can just say is command. Semien just didn't have his command here on this one. And I've kind of heard people talking about the Toronto pitching mound being a little weird to pitch on. You almost wonder if that's it. I'd like to see some improvement from Semien here. I think he's kind of walking a tightrope with so many young pitchers now in the Twins organization. Semien's really going to have to have himself stand out, and he just hasn't really displayed the kind of swing and miss stuff that Abel has, the kind of swing and miss stuff that even Tosh Bradley has shown, or definitely Zebby has shown, and Zebby we're about to talk about. And swing and miss is the name of the game these days. If you can't get swing and miss, then she may not stick on a major league roster. That's just how it is. But I really do like the splitter. I like the curve. It's not all negative. We're just going to have to see better command of the four seam and of the slider. And the slider especially, because that was a strong pitch for him last year. So lastly, we're moving on to Zebby here. He had a pretty good start, 6 innings. It was a weird start, actually. 6+ innings, 7 hits, only 3 strikeouts. I think 2 earned runs is what it was, or maybe 1 earned run, because I think there was an error in there. But I think it was also his own error, and I do believe pitchers deserve an earned run for their own error, for following that kind of logic. But that's a different thing entirely. Anyways, what we have here, this is kind of a weird one, actually, from Zebby. I wrote about earlier in the year, I think after 3 starts, he was basically slider, four-seam cutter 95% of the time. And it was kind of working for him, but I had some concerns about long-term viability doing that. And I think he understood that. I think the Twins understood that. And that's why we've seen him evolve as a pitcher, even just over these last few months. He's really incorporated this sinker, has incorporated this changeup. I think it's a kick change specifically, even throwing an occasional curveball there. Why not? And the big pitch that dominated here was the sinker. Holy crap. This pitch earned so many called strikes. 5 called strikes out of 12 thrown. Even got 2 whiffs in there, which is unusual for a sinker. And for a pitch that he's basically just started throwing, this is very impressive here. And the average exit velocity 86, that's wonderful. That's what you love to see. Didn't even get a single foul ball off of it. So he was either getting a whiff, guys were looking at it for a strike, or they were putting it in play and it wasn't going to do any damage. And that's a wonderful combination of things here. 75% zone, so he was just pounding it in there. And then I think he didn't get any swing on it outside, which is kind of, if you're going to nitpick, which sure, we'll nitpick here, I would like to see him be able to learn how to not just throw the sinker in the strike zone, but out of the strike zone. I think those are 2 different skills. This is going to be an evolution to him. Again, he just learned the pitch, so I'm not going to like rag on him and be like he's a terrible pitcher. He can't do this. But if we're going to see a step, if we're going to see him take that next step, it's going to be this. It's going to be, I'm now throwing the sinker. It looks like it's going to be in the strike zone, but it's actually not going to be. And now you're going to put the ball in play. It's going to be a grounder. It's going to be a pop-up. We're breaking bats. Our defense is loving us. That's going to be the next step here. But I'm not going to complain about him throwing it, and guys just looking at it 75% of the time or whatever was happening here. What was weird, though, 17 swings on the slider, only one whiff. I would not have guessed that from a successful Zebby outing. Usually he's been living and dying on that slider, and it's a death ball. It really is a good pitch. But it really wasn't here. And 10 foul balls, it looks like the Padres just did a good job making contact with it. They were really focused on that pitch, and maybe that's why they stared at so many sinkers, is that they were honing in on the sliders. Maybe that's a good adjustment, actually, by him and Jeffers. Four-seam fastball did okay. The cutter, 9 swings, no whiffs. That's a bit weak for me. Man, I don't know the numbers, but last time I checked, the cutter was just getting obliterated. I would almost recommend he just gets rid of the pitch. It had not been working last year. I don't think it was working this year. You don't get a single swing and miss and they put it in play 5 times. I don't love that. I don't love that. Zone contact 100, O contact 100. They're not fooled. They're not fooled. They're making contact with it. Change up. Did what it needed to do. Curveball. It was just throwing it in there. Got 1 look, 4 balls. So kind of a weird outing from here. I guess the way I would interpret this, well, let's look at the plot, actually. I got to scroll up because they were the home team. Illustrator, here we are. Here we go. So let's look at the plot. So yeah, sinkers in the zone. So this is why he wasn't getting any outside, because he's throwing it here. That's a ball. Missed it here. These guys just grew wings and kept flying. And then this one to Luis Arraez is not going to swing at that. We know. This is a pretty good plot, though. I like this plot. I just wonder, I guess maybe the slider, just for whatever reason, they were honed in on it and they weren't swinging. And you almost wonder then if that's something that's going to reverse course his next time. If you just keep throwing sliders here, a little too much in the zone, though. You can really. It kind of depends. It's a good slider, but is it a great slider? Is it a pitch that can live in the zone like this? I guess it kind of did. He didn't get burned too hard for it. But I like this scatter plot. I think this is a good maturity. This is a good mature outing from Zebby Matthews. We saw the 4-seam high. Man, he was really throwing it high. This was the lowest 4-seam fastball he threw. That is excellent. The sinker is in the zone, even if it was right down the middle. Man, guys were just staring at it. Struck out Cronenworth on that. What were they? They must have been just owning in on the slider, because that sinker just got him every time. But I really do. I like this scatter plot. This is an encouraging outing from Zebby Matthews to command 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pitches like this, to throw them in the zone like this, and to beat a pretty good hitting team in the zone like this. It's not easy to do, and I think he deserves some flowers for this. I think that's going to conclude us. Tonight is Taj Bradley starting against the Padres. Hopefully he does better than his last start. I'm going to be very interested to see what he does here. But that's going to be our rundown. And I'm curious to know what you guys think. I might try and do more of this. Maybe it's too granular. I don't know. I think it's pretty cool. I think it's fascinating, the data landscape that we have, and the free available data landscape too. The fact that I don't have to pay for any of this. You just have to know how to query this stuff. It really is remarkable what you can pull up and what we're able to analyze, and how our discussion of baseball and how our discussion of pitching has evolved, and how it has been able to really get into the weeds with this kind of stuff. It's no longer the slider was not doing well. We can say the slider only earned 1 swing and miss, and they were The O contact was this, the zone contact was this, and then we can start to analyze these things in a deeper way. So I'm going to stop yapping now. That was a lot of a lot of baseball nerd stuff. So again, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I might be back next week with more.